So thank you for joining this conversation with me. The first thing that I wanted to ask you was about your convo with Lex Fridman. In prep for this conversation, I watched a bunch of your stuff. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I felt most frustrated in was watching you guys work through the R word, N word sort of thing. And I didn't get to hear what you thought. I felt like that was a section of it where you mostly got chastised. And I think there is an interesting conversation around your philosophy of language, which words you incorporate and use, which ones you don't, which ones you allow in your community. So wanted to reopen that conversation and ask you why yes, R word, why no, N word? And is there something underpinning that?
I think that like the general philosophy is try not to cast too wide a net is essentially how it works. So if I'm making fun of somebody for a particular trait or using an insult against somebody, you want the thing itself to be pretty bad. Otherwise, you end up casting too wide a net. So for instance, probably not okay to make fun of somebody's body, like calling somebody fat, because you might have like cool fans that are fat. Right? Mm-hmm. Is it okay to make fun of somebody for being like a Nazi or a racist? Probably, because those are bad traits. And even if you have a fan that is a Nazi or racist, it's okay for them to feel bad about being a racist, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like the broad overarching, I guess, philosophy. And then we try to like stay somewhere within those lines. But we're not perfect. We've been looking for a replacement for the R word, but that's a hard one, man. I haven't found anything good to replace it yet. I feel like retarded as a word has fallen out of like colloquial use. Or not colloquial use. It's fallen out of like medical use. I don't think I've ever heard anybody refer to like children even as like mentally retarded. I think it's usually like developmentally delayed, or you'll be talking about a particular ADHD or something like that. So I don't. It's not like one of those words I hear and it's like, oh my god, that's so horrible. But I mean, it'd probably be good to not say it, but I just haven't found a worthy replacement for it yet, I guess.
Yeah, you need something that stings, because that's kind of the point. This is where I was in the conversation listening, is that it feels like in that conversation, potentially on the internet as a society, we've gotten very stuck on the syllables and the sound of the word itself and lost what we're trying to signify in there. And I'm wondering, like, so say we replace the word retarded with imbecilic or moronic or stupid. Is it not another 2, 3, 4, 5 years before those words are now problematic words that need to be removed? Because what we haven't done is remove this class of insult, which is saying, I do not respect you because you are behaving in a way that I deem stupid or something like that. And I see this, I don't know if it's a like revolving door of words that need to be replaced, if there's a problem with that or if there's not. Yeah,
it's almost like a euphemistic treadmill kind of. I posed that question to Lex, but he felt pretty confident that wouldn't happen. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard. There are some genuine slurs or words or whatever that we probably shouldn't use just because it doesn't make sense to. So like racial slurs or maybe like really sexist slurs, I can understand that. When it comes to calling people stupid or dumb, sometimes I have a hard time telling, like, do people really want to get rid of the word like retarded because of developmentally delayed people, or do people want to just like tone down like how mean everybody is altogether? Because if it's the former, then okay, but if it's the latter, then yeah, I think we are on a road where it's like, well, calling somebody stupid or an imbecile, I mean, like, is that really fair? This person was from a disadvantaged community. Like, if you call a person of color an imbecile as a white person, like, are you taking advantage of your systemic privilege to punch down? Like, I don't know where that road goes, I guess. And also at the end of the day, I do like to frame these things. I think it's always good to take a step back and kind of like on the macro level, figure out what we're talking about. I have opinions on like language and words we should or shouldn't use, but I don't have like huge, strong, like leanings towards like, or there's not a lot of gravity behind those decisions. Like if somebody says words that I don't like, I don't usually care that much. I'm not here to like police people's language or anything. I like to make people aware of things. If you say certain words, they're going to have certain impacts and some people might not feel good about it. Not necessarily saying you should or shouldn't use those words, but it's something you should at the very least have a realistic comprehension of. So as long as somebody has the awareness, that's good enough for me. And then I have my values and I try to impart those on other people. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, there are so many more interesting things to talk about than like, what word are you using? It's not okay. You know, I think people get too obsessed on the syllables, like you said.
Sure. One of the, I guess, the personal reactions that I have, which I recognize as my own, is I get afraid culturally when it seems like, perhaps this is a reaction to woke culture, when it seems like the most offended group of people or party is the one who is able to, dictate the terms of conversation or something like that. And I felt that with terms like Latinx and then I get fearful of that with terms like retarded. My heart wants to be kind and doesn't want to upset people if I don't have to do it. but I am probably slower to change my language because I am so distrustful of the good faith of the whatever internet community listening. I'm curious if that comes up for you as well.
Yeah, I don't care about the I try to never care about the group of people that are like, we're going to come police the language. I usually just go by feedback from others that are usually personally affected. So, you know, there are certain slurs that might be relevant to gay people. Like, I'm curious, like, how gay people feel about those particular things. And then soliciting their feedback is important, or how minorities of all sorts of different groups might feel about certain words. I think that's the feedback that I'm most concerned of. There's this kind of like class of white people that are very, very, very concerned with trying to be very particular about the words we can or cannot use. And I find that a lot of minority groups just don't care. I don't think I've ever met a Hispanic person in my entire life that has ever endorsed Latinx or any variation thereof. I know they're trying to make like Latine work or whatever, but even that's like some AOC stuff. I don't know. It's not, I'm going to use this phrase a lot, and it makes me sound a little suspect, but it's just not very interesting to me. Like figuring out why people have the views they do about large groups of people, and then how people treat them differently based on those views. Those conversations are really interesting to me. But like figuring out like how we can all sit in a circle, like ejaculating on each other, trying to woke scold each other harder than the other person is just like, it's very, 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 I don't care. There are some conversations that can be kind of interesting to have, but people fixate so hard on that to where that becomes like the focal point, when in the reality, that's like a very peripheral subject. That's just kind of like, well, maybe we can chat about this for a second, you know?
Yeah, got it.